All right, we now started our global macro update. We're also going to be covering a crypto in here as well. Got a lot of things to talk about, mainly in the crypto realm. Equities have not done a whole lot. We do see the S&P chug along, making some higher highs. Nasdaq has not broken out, and Russell 2000 is not really doing a whole lot either. But the VIX is really getting to a point where I think it's going to be either fading, so then the S&P is going to be potentially breaking out to the upside, or cracking to the upside. There's going to be a sell-off within the S&P, and other risk-on assets are going to be falling as well. So we'll see where that goes. We don't really have an exact direction in the market just yet, so we'll have to wait and see until we get an answer from either the buyers or the sellers. I'm going to wait a few more moments here just so people are able to come into the live, so then they can ask questions, engage with me, other members, and have a good understanding of what we potentially could see in this upcoming week. So I'll wait a few more moments and then we'll jump right into the video here. So if you have any questions before we actually get into the live, don't hesitate to ask them right now. We'll be going over equities, metals, currencies a little bit, mainly the US dollar, and then we'll get into crypto, looking at BTC, the tools that we analyze the altcoin market with, and then actually looking at the altcoins compared to USDT. All right, so just give me one moment here. I'm gonna get this live set up very shortly, and then we can get right to it. All right, just gonna change some stuff up here. Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. Don't see any more questions. We're not really going to be doing a TikTok today just because usually not a whole lot of quality engagement, but it's usually kind of more simple questions, and we do try to provide this for people that are a little bit more aware of what we're talking about, because going over what the S&P is a little bit different than what we're trying to do here in this video. All right, so let's get this show on the road here. I'll get the recorder. I am also in a short-term trade, hence I am sometimes looking at another chart here, but that is not a problem. All right, and we'll always start off with the S&P. I'm thinking about trading and actually exiting this before I start this video here. I'll wait a few more moments just so people are coming in, as well as for me to just see how this plays out, because it could be potentially just a very short-term trade, capture over a little bit of profit on, but it's good to start off the Monday with a little bit of green for sure. Wow, Nasdaq did hit the high. I don't know why this isn't going on. Continuous. Yeah. Don't exactly know why it's not running right now. 11:07 should be. All right. I'm just going to leave that there. Okay, let's get this show on the road. We're going to start off with the S&P today. It's looking like it's pretty bullish, to be completely honest. Yeah, I will leave that. Have not moved it up to stop loss or stop loss to break even yet, but that's okay. Okay, the secondary monitor correct, and let's get this show on the road. Hey traders, welcome to another global macro update. Like always, we'll be starting off looking at the US equities, and then we'll move on to some of the other asset classes to conduct our multi-asset analysis. So like always, starting off with the S&P, we do see that it's been able to potentially break out of this previous consolidation. We can see right here, we see that high that was hit on around 22nd and 23rd of July, which is also the resistance held from the previous highs with the trend line connecting the higher highs, and we have an ascending trend line that's a support that's more aggressive than the resistance, creating an ascending wedge to the upside. And it does look like we are hitting that resistance yet again. It's just a matter of if we're going to break or if we're going to hold this zone. So it looks like we're a little bit toppy right now. Let's look at the 1 hour. We do see that it is holding this nice level of supply, although we're still creating higher lows. We can see low, higher low, and this could be a higher low. So overall, we are still holding a series of higher lows, but we are squeezing towards a resistance area. We do have to keep in mind that we did break this previous high that we saw on July 23rd, and we're just still continuously making some higher highs and higher lows. So it looks like it is getting less aggressive. The moves are getting less substantial to the upside. Yes, we had these days where we were able to recover from these dips and really just continue towards the upside. So this, in my opinion, especially on the daily chart, shows me with these wicks here that there are lots of buyers still. And if we do get a candle closure above this zone, we could get a situation where we're going to be melting to the upside, retesting this previous resistance as a new level of support. If we're able to get that, and then we're able to maybe get something along the lines of this, where we get this previous small little resistance, if we do get a small little sell-off to form as a new level of support, that, in my opinion, would be a pretty bullish situation for us to be in. We don't exactly know where that horizontal zone is going to be, but I think if we are going to get a potential move to the upside, we would see a break and retest of this key level of resistance that we see right here. So that's going to be the potential upside move that I will be looking at if it does come into fruition. And we see that strong candle closure on a large time frame, and then we do see now we're trading for 6 hours now, basically the entire time above this previous resistance. So I definitely think that if we get a resistance turning into a new level of support right here, we see key structural zone right here, right here, right here. Yes, we got a poke out right here, but it got immediately rejected back to the downside. So I'm going to be viewing this area as a potential level of support where we could get something along the lines of that. We don't exactly know just yet, but that would be extremely bullish. For the sells, I want to be pretty careful because this overall is going to be looking at the global risk sentiment as well. So looking at global investors and seeing how much risk they're willing to tolerate. And right now, we see lots of buy pressure coming in when the price is trying to break below this ascending level of support. On the 12-hour, we do see lots of wicks to the downside, and then we see this huge candle closure that was a very aggressive push with a bullish engulfing candle engulfing the previous, let's say, candle closures, let's say 3 days, or I guess less than that, 1.5 days. But overall, we do see the candle closure still moving to the upside. So I'm going to assume that the momentum is still continuing to the upside. Although it is looking like it is weakening, we can see it's kind of topping right here. And then it kind of turns into a consolidation. But if we do get, like I said, a break and retest of this zone, that could be a pretty bullish opportunity here if we get a break and retest. But if we get just some continuation and then you get a big crack, that's not good, because then you're just getting weakening, and then this is just that last little push from the buyers. And then once you start to see some momentum push to the downside, you're going to see a lot of stop losses get hit and a lot of hope get lost. I think then we could see some pretty aggressive moves to the downside. The main level of support that I'm currently looking at is 3,200. That's that main key zone that I want to see the price hold above if I'm looking for risk on trades. We can see that there was wicks all to the downside near the $3,200 zone, so that's where I'm going to be looking for key levels of support if it does actually come back down to this zone. If it falls below, we'd then be looking for retests of this previous support zone as a new level of resistance. That would also confirm a potential head and shoulders, and then we'd be looking for confirmations breaking below the 3150 zone, right, or 3140 zone for the neckline. That would be the ideal situation for a reversal, is if we get a confirmation with a left shoulder right here, a head, and then a right shoulder right here. That would be a great opportunity for us to look for shorts, in my opinion, or at least risk off trades. So that's a little bit of discussion on the S&P. We're now going to get into the Russell 2000 here. Quick discussion because there's not a whole lot that happened. Actually, we could just stick right here. We've just been consolidating. Yes, we've been forming slow actual candle closes that have been higher, but overall, we're just seeing a slow consolidation move to the upside. Not a whole lot to talk about. And then let's open up the NASDAQ. We've actually seen a little bit more interest here. I don't know why that's there. That would be a better spot for it right there. So we're basically at the all-time highs here, and we got a little bit noisy right here. I thought it'd be a little bit more clean where we got a descending zone connecting the lower highs. So let's get our right here, projection. I thought this would be a little bit cleaner. We didn't really get an ideal break and retest that we were hoping for like this. The ideal situation is if we got this or this to hold that support zone. So we got a little move and then a push and then a pullback and then a push. That would be a really good opportunity to look for potential longs. But we didn't really get that precise retest right there to push the price upwards. So overall, not absolutely phenomenal, but we are now just at a base. So this is, in my opinion, considered a high base. So we're consolidating. I do not consider this really a breakout just yet in terms of the high base. What we need to see is to see the price break up, retest this very well respected zone. You got 1, 2, and 3 rejections off this area, where at least hesitation here. We don't really have a rejection here. A rejection if we came back down and then held maybe this middle zone and then came back up and broke it, because then we can create these nice higher lows, creating an ascending triangle formation. So right now, don't really see a rejection, so it'd be nice to see one more rejection come down, ascending zone, break, retest, and then you're looking for longs if you are looking for possible moves to the upside. One thing to note, I think it's really interesting, is the VIX is contracting to a point where it's going to have to make a decision, and this is going to obviously be directly correlated with what the S&P does, because it's the volatility index of the S&P. But if the S&P is going to want to break to the upside, and if it succeeds, this is probably going to fade, and then the NASDAQ is going to be looking really good, in my opinion, for a potential long, because the NASDAQ has been a relatively strong index out of all the indexes that we're looking at. Even globally, looking at the DAX, looking at the Japanese Nikkei 225, the NASDAQ has been performing or outperforming basically every index in the markets. So that's going to be something to look at, in my personal opinion. But if the VIX volatility index actually spikes up, that's obviously going to be very bearish for the S&P 500. So then ideally we just want to see a fade in the VIX. That would be ideal. Kind of like we saw, let's get our little snip. Kind of like we saw like this. That would be the ideal situation. If we get a nice fade, little move to the upside, little correction, pullback maybe, and then a continuation of the S&P moving to the upside, where the VIX is going to be contracting even further to the downside. And we can see this 24 range was a key level of resistance, so it's going to be a new level of support. We bounced very hard back in June 5th, moving to the upside quite aggressively, while the S&P moved to the downside. So we're contracting in that similar type of formation, using that $24 range for a key level of demand. So we want to make sure that we are aware of a potential move coming if the VIX is going to be acting bullish on us, which would mean that the S&P is falling. So that's going to be something to keep an eye out on, or keep an eye on. But as of right now, we don't really see anything that is too concerning. So we're just going to keep it at that. And this is our key zone that we want to see break. Not just the descending zone, but also the horizontal structure at like 27.5. So that's the US equities. We're going to quickly now jump into the currency, so mainly the US dollar index. So this has been something to keep an eye on for sure, because a lot of things are compared to the US dollar. So let's just take everything off and start from fresh, because the US dollar is very important, especially because we can see it's a hot topic. Massive sell pressure coming into the US dollar. A lot of people are a little bit worried. Gold and silver are absolutely mooning. So if this continues, what is the US government going to do, right? That's the big question. So let's now go into a smaller time frame here, because we do see some bottoming potentially, but before we get into that, let's always start off with the monthly, weekly, large time frames and see where we currently are. Well, let's draw this. Not precise. It actually passed it if we want to get really precise. Unless we go that. It's pretty close to a potential low, in my opinion, in terms of a trend line. It's not perfectly precise. I have a type A, and then I have a type B turning into a type B, I guess you could say, candle closure, wick closure, and you have wick closure. So you have a type, you have a type A, type B, and type A. So if this starts really rallying, because we got to understand this is the monthly, if we go to the weekly, maybe it's going to be something a little bit different. Probably not. Still got four days-ish. So if this holds, and if we get a big rally from here, from around this support, let's say, and then we get like a really big bullish candle, like so, that to me is going to indicate that that's going to be a possible low. And then we could consolidate for a little while, but this has been really quickly and aggressively moving to the downside. And I think that we could possibly get some level of correction here, because I don't think the US is going to allow the US dollar to just completely collapse and keep on falling. I just don't think that's going to be something that the US government is going to do. So as a possible theory, let's continue. And then when I would say I'm wrong is this zone right here. Pretty close to 93. Like if we look here, we can see just how strong this support zone is. Turn resistance, turn to support, and then I would say basically at the bottom of that wick, if that's going to be a low, should not pass this wick. And then if we really are going to be falling for it, can't go below that zone. Someone's calling me, but I can't answer. Okay, so let's just continue on here. Sorry about that. I got to turn off my phone here. All right, so let's go into the smaller time frames, because we do want to assume that that's going to potentially be a level of support. And what would indicate the dollar moving up is if there is a risk off situation. So the US dollar is a safe haven currency that people would look to enter or long or buy if there is uncertainty, worry, fear in the markets. Now, I think we're going to consolidate here for a little bit, but if this moves to the upside, it means that the SPX is probably going to fall, because I really don't think the SPX and risk-on assets are going to be moving up. NASDAQ, stuff like that is going to be moving up when the US dollar is moving up as well. So it could very well fail. We'll look at the smaller time frames, but the US dollar has been absolutely capitulating to the downside, so we do want to make sure that we keep on top of this price action, or this chart especially. Okay, so now that we understand where we are in a larger time frame, let's discuss what we're currently seeing on the smaller time frame. So I'm not really going to draw any descending zones anywhere all along here, just because it's moving faster and faster to the downside, and it's just in total capitulation, and kind of from here is just in a massive capitulative state to the downside. So what we're going to be looking for is to see key levels of support or resistance along with a price action pattern that we've backtested. So if we're looking at this, we see the major zone that this price action needs to pass, in my opinion, in order for it to potentially shift direction or shift momentum, was around 94. So this is going to be the around there is going to be the key zone of resistance that we need to see the price pass before we get even a glimmer of an opportunity for US dollar strength. Second thing is, let's look for a possible price action structure that we can see. I definitely see a reversal pattern right here. I'm not sure what you do, but let's look at this structure right here. You got the left shoulder, you got the head, and then you got the breakout point at 94, and then you got your right shoulder sitting at 93.7, and if it goes below that, that's an invalidation. But if it's able to hold this right shoulder for a level of support, that will create a reverse head and shoulders formation, and the breakout zone, which would be right here, 94, is going to be the key level where you're looking for possible US dollar strength continuation. So it's slowly setting up. If it doesn't break 94, then the complete structure is invalid, because obviously you need to see the breakout before you actually get any sort of trigger or flag to enter. So we don't see it just yet, but this is going to be a big shift. If the US dollar reverses, that means that a lot of risk on assets are not going to do well. And right now, it does look like Bitcoin is considered to be a risk on asset, although it is slowly decreasing its positive correlation with the S&P, and it's slowly, but it is increasing its correlation positively to gold. And that's what we're wanting to see, is we want to see Bitcoin and crypto resemble the characteristics of a safe haven asset, because in my opinion, I think there is going to be, in the future, time when there is monetary uncertainty, fear, worry in the air, in the markets, and people are going to be worried that the fiat currency system is collapsing sooner or later. I don't exactly know when, but with the amount of money printing, the proliferation of currency has never been so evident, in my opinion. So then there's going to be repercussions like we saw back in the late 40s, 50s, 60s, when there was cheap money, cheap credit, lots of money printing. They didn't want to raise interest rates because they didn't want to pay more money to pay for the debt. And then look what happened. 70s were extremely inflationary. Late 70s, gold was on an absolute parabolic bull run, and hopefully that's what we're seeing right here as well. It's very negative for people who do not understand the monetary system and what sound money is, but for the people who are willing to educate themselves, these times where true money is tested, these are very, very fast, aggressive times to be in the market, but can provide some unbelievable ROI. And we saw that in silver, we saw that in gold. There's a slight hesitation right now where we're a little bit consolidating, but I do think that next push is potentially coming here. So we're going to be on the lookout for continuation patterns to the upside. So that's going to be my analysis on the DXY. We'll see where it goes. It'd be nice to see a potential reversal here, because we have a good idea of what we are doing. And if you stick with us and watch our channel, you hopefully will have a good idea of what to do if different assets move up or down, because in the markets, it's not just one independent thing and nothing else moves it. The things that we're looking at are very correlated or negatively correlated, so we have to understand the cause-effect relationships that are within the instruments that we are using to trade. So we'll see what it does. Definitely still too early to consider it a potential reversal, but the DNA for a potential reversal is there. It just needs to kind of create a little bit more of the structure. All right, so now let's look at gold. Let's go to the daily and then understand that the 1920 zone, actually let's go to the weekly. You can even go to the monthly. So we got a monthly candle closure, right? July candle closure was successfully higher, much higher than 2011 at 1826. So now we've closed higher than really any point in time. We did go above or just around 2K back in the 70s, I believe, but in the recent decades, we haven't seen a candle closure this high. So gold is extremely bullish in my personal opinion. Just because it is high doesn't mean that it is too high in my opinion. I think with the amount of not just the United States, but the entire globe with the money printing, a lot of economists, a lot of people who are very skilled and have a long history in this space are pretty bullish on this yellow metal as well. So we got to look at it not just with the price action, but also fundamentals. So I'm just basically only looking at continuation patterns. I do not want to short this at all. I have zero desire in shorting gold or silver. I'm only going to be looking for longs. So with this current market, I see an ascending wedge formation. Oh, I also see an ascending triangle formation, but I'd like to see a wedge breakout as well. So let's take a picture right here. So we see initially this resistance, this resistance, this resistance. We see that right here. Rejection right at that zone. So this is going to be a horizontal level of resistance that we're currently seeing within the market, which is great to see. When we have these tops or roofs within the market, it's great because when they actually open up, this little crate here, so let's just say it starts to open up, then there's like a rocket ship that can potentially come in when you get these big moves to the upside, because now every single person who's long is now in the money, right? That's a great feeling for people who are long, and every single person who is short, every single person is now out of the money. They are now losing no matter what. So stop losses are probably going to get hit, and adding on to winning trades are probably going to be adding on as well. So in my personal opinion, if we do get a nice break, strong impulsive push to the upside, we're looking for retests of this previous resistance, which is going to be acting as a new level of support, as well as candle closure, candle closure, candle closure. So we also are going to be connecting those candle closures with type Bs to add in an ascending new level of support, which is going to be our key level of resistance that we need to pass. So we have both a horizontal zone and an ascending zone that we need to break. So let's say this is a price action. We want to see a break and retest this zone. Maybe we might get a descending zone to create a symmetrical triangle at that area, right? And then we're looking for continuation. That or a descending wedge or a descending triangle. You could even get an ascending triangle, ascending wedge on top of the ascending wedge. Anything that involves price action patterns that you've backtested. I've backtested them. So that's going to be where we're going to be looking for a possible entry for me on gold. So we don't see it just yet, but all I'm looking for is an impulsive move to break above this key zone, and then I'm looking for a possible entry. If it doesn't go above this zone, and we don't see it hold, and we don't see it actually retest and validate, I'm going to be pretty hesitant just because I have a pretty specific set of criteria and things I'm looking for. So if we don't see that, I'm going to be hesitant to enter. All right, so let's look at silver now. So on the 12-hour chart, I think silver looks awesome, but when we do get into the smaller time frames, just the fact that this wick is so large and it held on a 6-hour and large time frame, I don't love. But when we are looking at it from a larger time frame, we do see a nice ascending series of higher lows connected by a trend line and a horizontal zone of resistance at around 2460. So we do see a potential ascending triangle. So then we go into a smaller time frame, we see support, 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 and especially this wick right here came down right to the support zone in confluence with the horizontal zone. You see support right here, 2, 3. So in my opinion, that's a valid zone. So all we're looking for is a possible break and retest. I would look at this like this is a wick. Like this zone right here is a wick, because it truly is on a daily time frame and a 12-hour time frame. It's just when you are going to a 4-hour or a 2-hour for a possible entry, or a 1-hour for an execution time frame, you may see that and think, I don't love that. And I was thinking that as well, but I'm just going to live with it. Not even going to be drawing a descending zone. We did see a possible descending zone like here. Like here. And then let's get that red. And let's go like this. But we did not see a break of this previous resistance right here. That's why we always like to look at structures as well as price action patterns. So it would be nice to see a break of that zone. So let's get... So it'd be nice to see... Let's get something that we have an idea. Just trying to think of... That's a good little section right there. So ideally, we'd want to see something like this. Obviously, you want to have a little bit more aggressive, but you want to see that nice clear break, that retest validation of that resistance into a new level of support. It wouldn't be bad to get a higher low here, just to validate this confluence zone with here and here, as well as that horizontal zone, and you get that nice higher low, and then you get a break, retest, and then you get that continuation. That would be great to see. Because then you get a little bit more of like pulling back of the cannon, I guess, before you get in, just absolutely pushed to the upside. I forget what I'm trying to think of. So it's things that have a Y, and then you let go. You pull back, the further you pull back, the faster it goes. I forget what that was called. But anyways, that's my opinion of silver. It would be nice to get a retest of the 23-ish zone. But overall, we're going to be looking at it from a 12-hour time frame standpoint, just because we have to understand that this is a key level of resistance. We're creating higher lows, and that's objectively an ascending triangle formation. So that's going to be what we're going to be viewing the price of silver. Silver doesn't look as good. Gold really looks well respected, whereas silver, you got to bend it a little bit. You got to be on a certain time frame and kind of like understand it from a large time frame to really get the good price action structure. Whereas gold, kind of on almost any time frame, it looks really solid. So we're going to be keeping an eye on gold, but silver is always a possible long, just because if gold's going to do well, silver is probably going to do well as well, especially at this point when silver has so much more catching up to do. All right, let's quickly take a look at crude oil here. So we know that this 39.65-ish dollar zone is a major level of support, and on the weekly chart we can see key level of resistance turning into new level of support. So we're looking for the price to close below that zone. We have not seen the price close below that zone, but it does look like we are topping here with, if that's going to be the high, let's get our brush like that. So then if that's going to be the high like here, we can, oh, that's not where I wanted it. If that's the high here, let's just play around with this. Oh, I can only go in one way. I thought I could turn it around. Like the opposite way. Okay, well maybe not. I thought I was a little bit easier than I thought. Let's see if there's any bit of topping. This is a pretty big top. Like that's a large top. Nothing really. Wow. Yeah, I would say that is decent. Where you get a horizontal zone right there. And then your top's going to be like that. But I was looking for a larger structure, so then I can just lay it on here and see how that looks. But unfortunately, I don't think we're able to get that. But it does look like we are topping. So we'll see where it goes. Like I said, major zone that we want to see break is 39.65 in order for us to look for any continuation patterns to the downside. Usually, you're going to see oil go down or be more bearish, whereas gold is going to be more bullish in recessions just because oil is used in production, transportation. There's less demand. There's less economic activity going down within a recession just because businesses are closing, less economic activity. And then there's more attraction towards safe havens as gold is a safe haven, especially I think in recent times because we've had the great financial crisis and we had the three QEs where the Fed really printed a lot of money. We have negative interest rates in some countries, or basically zero interest rates. We live in a ZIRP or zero interest rate policy world. Japan, Denmark, Germany, Switzerland all have negative interest rates, and America have been talking about it as well. I don't know if they are, but that's a situation where money is basically free, and there's going to be reactions from that policy taken because that can't be forever. That's not something that's sustainable. You can't just print money and print value and pay for things without it actually affecting the value of that currency. It's just not how it works. It takes time to dilute the currency for sure. It's not going to be instant, but it is inevitable. So that's going to be my discussion on crude oil. Don't really have a whole lot more to talk about. I'd like to see it start to break down before we get really into it. But I'd like to see a complete divergence where gold starts to really go up and crude oil starts to really go down. We've already seen that. WTI crude oil has actually recovered a lot more than what I thought it would. But overall, I do still think that I'm more bearish on crude oil and I'm still very bullish on gold. So I'll keep this on a smaller time frame just so I have a good understanding of how this head and shoulders is playing out. And I do not want to pass that zone right there. So I'll keep that just right here so I'm aware of it. I'll keep an eye out on the S&P on the 1 hour just to see if it's trying to break out of this zone. And then I think the rest of it is going to be for the global macro or the crypto macro update here. So I think let's just bring this back here. And just see if we have any questions. Don't think so. Sweet. All right. Now let's go to BTC and look at some crypto. Make that a little bit smaller. Actually, we should go to the daily chart, and this is going to change quite a bit as well. No, we can even do like this, remove drawing. That price action looks very similar to the one that we had in spring of 2019, which is right around here, where we have these big spikes down. Oops. We have these big spike down, but we still managed to melt up. And right now, we see a big spike down, but it's still holding. Right? That looks really nice. And it's squeezed out of its triangle. So when we go into a smaller time frame, we had a nice triangle, very similar to what we had right here. So on this massive sell-off, what did we have? We had a triangle, right? Not absolutely perfect, but we had a triangle. You can go like this, you can go like this, and then to move to the upside, retest the previous high, and then continue moving up. Looks like we're having a very similar situation right here. Let's just dive in right to the smaller price action because I'm sure you were all curious. Massive sell-off. You had a nice triangle. Right? I guess you could argue it's right here and it already retested. Let's get that zone right there. And I'm not going to be absolutely precise. Somewhere around there, let's say. Have to look at a smaller time frame. We see a series of higher highs and higher highs and, lower highs and higher lows, squeezing towards the apex. And then once you see a break, you get a nice impulse push to the upside, and now you are retesting the previous high as a new level of support. So, which way do you think I think it's going? I personally think it's going to continue towards the upside. We can extend this out further. Nice little zone right there that it broke. You can also just say that's a base, like so. Kind of like that. So yes, that was a pretty aggressive sell-off. I was personally being pretty patient. I didn't want to get to, well, I'm never really jumpy, but I didn't want to come to a conclusion too quickly. Really wanted to make sure that price action was going to give me a confirmation, which in my opinion it is right now. So what am I doing right now? I'm looking for continuation patterns on BTC as well as some of the other possible altcoins that we're looking at. So what do I always like to do whenever I'm looking for continuation patterns? Well, we see a nice base or demand zone right here at around like 11K. We see the price squeeze after a massive dump, so that in my opinion is a reversal pattern. That's a completion of a bottom. We broke the previous high, the highest high it made from the first sell-off. So now the trend is already complete to move to the upside because we've broken this zone. If we held below this zone, completely different story. But now that we've broken above this zone, we're looking for continuation, and we already see a squeezing on the 30-minute chart. 15. Let's just go make this a lot bigger. And let's see what the recent price action looks in terms of the volume. It's looking like there's more bullish volume on the moves to the upside than there is sell pressure moving to the downside. So that looks very promising. And then we can just draw in our nice little ascending zone like this. And that's what I'm going to be looking for to see a possible breakout. Also going to be drawing a descending zone, or not a descending, a support zone. Let's get that red. I was looking at that. An ascending zone as well, so this is going to be a support. And this is going to be a symmetrical triangle that I'm looking to potentially play if it provides me an opportunity to move and enter at that breakout point. So I'm looking for not only a break of that descending zone, but also either this zone for a retest or the high. It doesn't matter too much to me. It's just going to give me a little bit better of an entry, obviously, which would be a little bit better of a risk reward, but I am alright if it doesn't give me a perfect re-entry or entry right at that zone right there. So I'm going to get that green. It's looking pretty good in my personal opinion, and we can see if we're going to the larger time frames, this is a candle closure and then it turned into a wick closure. So this 11,437 zone is going to be a key level that I want to see the price break before we look for continuation to the upside. And then if we're looking at possible zones for this triangle, not a perfect break because you got a break and then a failure to hold that previous high. So you got a previous high there, you broke it, retested that previous resistance as a new level of support. It failed, held the low, so that would be below your stop losses right below there. So if you're looking to trade this, it would have still been good. I did not. I'm just looking for more confirmation. That's what I meant when I said I was looking for more confirmation to see a impulse push to the upside, a pullback, a contraction, and then I'm looking for an entry before that next expansion point that we're hopefully going to get here soon. So in terms of possible targets just for this zone, we see right here. So then I'm just looking at the previous resistance and support at around 11.7. So then if we are looking at the smaller time frames, let's go right here. Let's see, you're getting an entry right there, below the previous low, 3.3. That's pretty decent. So that would be the ideal situation that we would find ourselves in if we are looking for a possible long. I'm definitely not looking for shorts on Bitcoin right now. I just don't think that it is going to be something that has a high probability just yet. So that's going to be my option for BTC. We'll see where it goes from here, but that's going to be the play that I'm looking at right now. So basically, continuation of the momentum. All right, let's quickly look at the altcoin market. Altcoin market cap is booming past the previous resistance here, going on to the next major zone, which is going to be right around here. So let's get some of these. Don't need that. Don't need that. So we're at the next level of resistance, but it obviously is very aggressively moving to the upside. So we want to be looking for continuation patterns to long altcoins and BTC. I'm just changing what I'm looking at on another chart here. Okay, cool. So now we're going to go into the next thing, which is BTC dominance, which is moving to the downside, meaning altcoins are taking more of the market share, which means that we should be looking to long altcoins. I'm personally not even looking to short altcoins just yet because there's more opportunity to move to the upside, unless you get these massive sell-offs, but I just think it's more predictable making moves to the upside right now, so that's where I'm going to be looking. So I'm just drawing or redrawing the BTC chart that I drew initially, just so I have it on my other chart. But we are going to be looking for altcoins because we do see that the BTC dominance is falling. If it falls below 61, 65, and falls below the support zone, I think it's going to potentially fall pretty aggressively. We have seen during previous historic massive sell-offs that it can move very, very aggressively. And it is kind of slowly moving right now, but I think if the overall momentum stays exactly the same and altcoins continue to rally, you're really going to start to see some speculation within the crypto market. So that would be very interesting to see. BTC, a little bit of hesitation within the volatility, but if we're just sticking to the daily, we do still see it climb quite aggressively. So we're looking for BTC to continue its volatility. Not much on the Bitcoin CME futures. We do see a bit of a gap there, but since then, I don't think we're going to get there. I think there's higher probability of moving to the upside than there is to the downside, in my opinion. All right, so let's go into Ethereum first because I do think that's going to be something very important to be looking at. Let's go to the daily after our massive sell-off. Also, this is the perpetual futures that I'm going to be trading on Binance. Just allows a little bit more flexibility with the orders and stuff. But I'm going to basically be looking at the smaller term price action. So actually, you know what, I'm going to go to the normal one because we want to see the large time frame of Ethereum. We don't want to see just the smaller time frame. So let's look at Ethereum. Is this a 3-minute? Oh, wow. Well, I guess it's pretty similar to BTC. Just on the 3-minute, it looks really nice. Like, that's nice. I like that. Might be something to keep an eye on, that's for sure. I might actually just throw it on my other monitor just to see what it does. I don't love trading smaller time frames, but if we are in a little bit of a bull run, let's say, I do not hesitate to switch to smaller time frames and just trade the small stuff because it gives some unbelievable risk rewards. It can. It's just you get more opportunities. That's the thing. And if you get more opportunities, if you're really managing your risk well, and you're only risking like, let's say, for example, 1% of your account, and then sometimes you get risk rewards of like 10, those are going to be the big winners because they can just run and run and run. Like, let's say you're risking 1%, and then it takes you up to 5%. Move that stop loss up to break even or a little bit higher, and then whatever it goes up, you're risking absolutely nothing. And that's the type of situation that you want to find yourself in. So now let's go to the weekly chart. And we can see Ethereum just broke out of its major long-term resistance zone at, let's say, $300. It is making a bullish push to the upside. The main zone, if we get any sort of sell-off, that would be a really good opportunity for a possible buy, would be around $300. That would be phenomenal in my personal opinion to see. Doesn't mean that we're going to see it, for sure. We see lots of volatility within the move to the upside, but I think the impulse push should come before we actually get a pullback to retest, if we even retest. Like I said, I'm not looking for any shorts at all. I'm only looking for continuation setups, so we'll probably see some level of pullback, but when we go into the smaller time frames, we'll maybe see it a little bit more clear. Not too much. Just lots of volatility there. Held that previous resistance. Yeah, it's holding up very well. Yeah, it's, I would say, a decent opportunity for sure. It's middle zone right there. Yeah, it'd be nice to see something like this, to be completely honest. Kind of like we got here, and then you'd be looking for a retest of that zone around here, and you can put your stop loss below the previous low if you really wanted to, and then your entry and all that's whatever. I don't exactly know how you personally would like to do that, but in terms of structure on the hour chart, that's the type of structure you really want to see ideally. So if it doesn't break this triangle to the upside, and if it starts to fall, that could be the second high, the second lower high, and then we could see a structure come in. So that would be nice. This pullback is really nice to see because you get your main high and your main low, and then you get the squeeze from there. So when we get these big sell-offs, I'm looking for a lower high and a higher low, lower high, higher low, and I'm looking for squeezing. In that triangle there, I don't really love it, to be completely honest. I'm not really probably going to trade it. I'm just scoping it out. I would have to not only see the triangle break, but also maybe not that perfect zone. Maybe that turned into, yeah, that would be a better situation. Support, support, turn into resistance. And then you see this section here. And then you're probably going to be looking for some level of resistance or profit right there if you see that as a potential trade. And then just seeing where this goes. Yes, it's not fully to that zone. I think there are better opportunities, to be completely honest. Ethereum looks alright, but I think things like BNB, where this consolidation is on top of that zone, makes it look a little bit better. So, in short, let's go back to the daily. I'd like to see a smaller, like we saw an ascending triangle right here. I'd like to see maybe a symmetrical triangle right here. If it doesn't actually break to the upside, I'd be looking for 300 to be a main level of support. If it does break this little triangle here, I'd be looking for 410, and then above 410, you'd be looking for something along the lines of that. For me, at least. So we'll see where it goes. I'll stick on a small time frame, although I don't absolutely love that. I'll keep it on here. It's not the worst. I might not trade it, but it'd be interesting to see what happens because there is 3 valid zones. Cool. And then let's just get our support zone. Let's just bring this back. Cool. All right. Let's just make that red turn to green. And we're good to go. So that's going to be Ethereum on Binance. See a very similar thing right here. See an ascending zone, see an ascending zone of resistance, but if we go to the smaller time frames, let's just go like that right there. So then that would be the zone you're looking to break. Oh. Now let's go to a smaller time frame just to assess it. Cool, and I just threw on some resistance zones that looked like it was connecting, but I don't think that's going to be too much of a worry, to be completely honest, after looking at Bitcoin and where Bitcoin is. Okay. Cool. So that is Ethereum. Now I'm going to take a quick look at BNB. So let's go to the daily chart. Let's do this first, just so we understand where everyone is, or where we are at least. So BNB has been doing better than a lot of these alts in the bear market, for sure. We've broken above this major high, so that was a significant level that we broke above. The next major significant level would definitely be this high, but when we go on to the monthly chart, we did break above the monthly chart consolidation. So this is that zone that is the bottom for us, for BNB. So we see this zone right here. Let's get our brush, and this is our bottom. And around, let's say, $20 is the key level of resistance that we needed to break out of. So job complete for BNB on that, which is awesome. So it is breaking out of that zone, which is great. So we'll go on to the weekly chart. The next zone is going to be right here that we need to see break, or that we're trying to get to, around $24. I'm just going to draw that. Probably not going to even put that there. I'll see on a smaller time frame if we have something that yeah, I can put that like that. And then I did not trade this, but in hindsight, you can always obviously see things that you didn't before. And that high got tested, and when it broke, retested and absolutely shot up. And this is that new key level of support. So let's go on to a smaller time frame and assess this a little bit more. So not boom, slam down, big hold from the buyer. So lots of buy pressure there. And then we see even on the 4-hour chart, previous resistance turning into new level of support. Let's go to a smaller time frame. Let's go to a smaller time frame. And you can call it a base because we got this right here. This is going to be the key level of demand. And I want to see a squeeze, so we do see a little bit of that happening, which is really nice. Okay, so what do we want to see from this situation? Ideally, we want to see this area hold, even if there's wicks coming below that zone. We want to see the price action hold this key level of support, contract, contract, and then like always within any squeeze, you want to see not only the price action break, but you also want to see the market structure so you don't get something like this, where you thought it was a squeeze, you entered on the breakout, it hit the next level of resistance, and then it just continues to fall. I've had that happen too many times where I said, screw it, I'm going to change my system. And then I only enter now if the price not only breaks the price action structure, but also breaks the market structure high. So then it doesn't go from a consolidation back to a downtrend, but it goes to from a downtrend to a consolidation to an uptrend. Cool, so that's going to be the analysis on BNB. I think it looks pretty good, but like I said, it definitely has a little bit of time before we're able to really capture any opportunities just yet, in my opinion, but it'll take a little bit of time. But ideally, it holds above 22. That would be a really good situation for us to have. Okay, so that's Binance Coin, that's Ethereum. We went over those two. Let's go over XRP, because this 5-minute chart looks pretty good. So let's go on the daily chart. And I was kind of shitting on XRP just because it was not relatively strong, but recently when we look at the relative strength analysis, XRP is at the top of the list. So I'm sure everyone who loves XRP is absolutely going nuts right now, saying I told you so, because I was not always bullish on XRP, but if we're looking at the smaller term time frames, it does look like XRP is doing better than basically everything else on the list we have so far. A little bit of sell pressure coming in. We see some alts moving down, but let's now look at XRP. So this is just on the Binance one, so we can see it is, we have a lot more data. Main level, we're right at the main level here. So 30-cent-ish range has been a key structural zone for a while, for years really, since 2018 and longer. So let's get, that's right there. So the fact that we're in that range, holding it, potentially holding above it, is great to see. We see wicks up there, but overall, that's that main middle zone I want to see candle closures above. And it looks like we're potentially going to get it here. That would be really nice to see. Confirmation, in my opinion, would be above like 35, 33. If we close above there, that is at a point where I say, okay, this is changing. Definitely. Let's just see if we can draw any descending zones. Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty decent descending zone right there. And then I know we have that one. Might not be from there. Yeah, there. So we had this very slow squeeze, and I thought personally it was going to do one more fall to the downside, but it managed. It managed. Right, and then you got the support zone that held. Not really well confirmed just because there's only 2 zones. Absolutely blasted through that high. And now we're on to the main high here. Let's just move that a little bit higher up. But it did hit that zone and that zone. Wow, at the same time. Yeah, that's a lot of volatility. So let's look at a smaller time frame here. Although we do have to quickly, let's look at BTC to see what it's doing here. We do see coming back to the low. Yeah, we'll see if it breaks 11,437. So let's go back to XRP. Massive sell-off, recovered at the previous high, which is now going to be a new level of support. So really good for market structure. Let's take away some of this. Let's take away some of this. Let's just show you from scratch what we're seeing. And this is that main zone that we have to keep in mind. 32, 33. So we're coming up to that zone here. We did see a squeeze right here. I think it's better to show it on a smaller time frame. Right there. And let's get that red. So we want to be a little bit careful. I do see an ascending triangle formation on the top here, but they're going right into a major level of resistance. We do have to understand that. So keeping that in mind, let's actually go on to a 5-minute, just to see if we have a wick that we can actually hit. Like so, perfect. So then we go back to the 30-minute. We know around this zone is a wick present. And we go like this. So we squeezed out, very similar to BTC. This was our high. We broke it. And then let's go to the smaller time frame here, because if we are using this as a squeeze, let's go from here to here. And it's going to be this breakout right here. So that's going to be our zone right in the middle of it. So when we go into a smaller time frame, we can see very, very well respected ascending zone. Or ascending triangle, sorry. From here, I guess you could do it from here. I was trying to get a little bit more aggressive just to get that type A, that type B, and that that support right there. But we can just go like this. Like so. And then let's go from here to here. And from here to here. So it's in a pretty relatively similar spot in terms of where a potential target's going to be. So then that's in confluence, which is great. And just look at some possible... Not much in terms of risk reward that we could get. I don't love it. To me, I don't absolutely love it. Just because the risk reward isn't really worth it. That's a major, major level of resistance. Doesn't mean that we're guaranteed to hit it. There's definitely not. But look at how aggressive we move to the upside. I think I'd like to see a little bit of consolidation here before we jump right in. I think BNB is showing a little bit better right here, where it's a little bit more clear. Ethereum is a little bit more clear, whereas XRP is clear, but it's just been running a lot, which is good because you want to be continuing the structure, but that's a little much, I'd say. Whereas if we're looking at Ethereum, that's pretty bullish as well. So maybe they're all bullish. Let's zoom in here. And then let's go back to XRP. To see a nice hammer candle closure on a key level of previous resistance, new level of support, which is good to see. Quickly looking at XRP here. Okay, cool. So that's going to be XRP. Don't really see any questions coming in, so I'm going to go jump into the next alt that we're going to be taking a look at. Don't love any of these. Cardano is something that looks great on a large time frame, but I just think it has a lot more to go. Where you see resistance, resistance, resistance. I need to see the price break before we really look for any entries. Just because we see this nice structure right there, very well respected, and it'll set up for a large time frame, kind of like we saw right here. It's set up for a very large time frame move to the upside. I think this will also set up for a large setup time frame move to the upside, but I think it still has a decent amount to go before we actually get a move to the upside. So Cardano is on a halt for a little bit here, just so we have a better structure to trade. I don't really love it. It has not performed that well after the sell-off compared to, for example, XRP is doing pretty well after the sell-off right here. We're almost at the high. BNB is doing extremely well, passing the high from the sell-off. Qtum, which is doing kind of well, but we're not really going to go talk about it because it hasn't been doing super awesome in terms of relative strength. It's been on my list, so I keep it on here, but I don't really absolutely love the price action, what's going down. XRP looks a little bit better. And then let's continue on to Link, because Link, in my opinion, does look pretty good, although right now it just is trying to make it up, but it's not. So let's go to the 6 hour to understand what happened. So the 6 hour, I'm sure you can see, was a descending. So let's just keep this on here. There was a descending zone right here, as well as a horizontal zone. So we had a nice descending triangle formation, very well respected, great structure. And then we got this nice contraction and price action. And you got this massive move to the upside, but you got a dump that just dumped below the support there. So a lot of stop losses were hit, but there were more bulls to pick up the price back up, holding it above the $7 range. And then we got what it looks like to be a breakout right now. So that previous resistance just broke out, candle closure, and now we're retesting from a previous resistance into a new level of support. So we'll take that away, and we'll kind of re-look at this stuff because there was a squeeze that occurred here. But let's just take all that away and look at a large time frame here. All right, very simple. So this held, very great to see. So we're now a bullish move to the upside. We're now retesting these highs. And this is the all-time high, remember? Wait. Yes. And we're still holding series of higher lows. Yes, we got that massive sell-off, but look at these wicks, right? So very, very bullish from a large time frame. And when we jump into a smaller time frame, still, it's holding these nice higher lows, right? Yes, there was a little bit of noise right there, but I'm willing to accept that within my chart, personally. Let's get the projection. Okay, and let's go to the 30-minute. Just to see what it looks like. Yeah, it's not so bad. So what we're looking for is a break and a retest of this zone. Or if you're really thinking that it's going to break to the upside, you could look at a stop entry above the wick right here, and then a stop loss below the previous low, although you want to be looking for a pretty large zone if you are going to be looking pretty large zone of risk if you are looking for that type of entry. So let's just look at that zone. So that's going to be the break right there. Just want to make sure I had the right one. That's going to be the horizontal array like so. And let's just see where this lines up in terms of the array. So since that was after the massive noise, I kind of like to go from the noise and just see where we are for possible targets here. It's a little bit too high, right in the center of it. There we go. Okay, so we got a little bit of space to work with. And then if we're going to go like this, we can just see it slowly make a move to the upside. Although we don't really care that it's going to go here. We just care that it's going to go on top of the zone and then retest the zone. And then we're looking for a possible opportunity. So I don't even think I'm going to draw that in. I'm just going to leave it like so and see what the market provides. VeChain is still on the list, but it's definitely taken some time to actually break out. We're in a similar structure to what we had on Link on a larger time frame. So that's on the 4 hour for VeChain. And then if we see what Link did, descending triangle, break, retest of the previous resistance into a new level of support, and then a push to the upside. Not massive, but a push to the upside. That's exactly what we're looking for on VeChain. We see a contraction price action. We're looking for the price to break above the key zone, around 0.018, right around here, and then retest, and then it's going to continue towards the upside ideally. So it's not ready yet, but we are looking for a possible opportunity if it does present itself. And this one has a larger move potential because we're on a larger time frame. The 4 hour has not broken out, whereas some of these other alts already have broken out, and we're just trying to trade the continuation of them. So XRP is holding a little bit better. It's good to see. And BTC is holding as well. Okay. Just seeing the possibility and the risk that I'd have to that low. Just checking it out. Just playing around with some numbers. So it's going to be XRP. Let's see if we can look at anything on here. Nope, we just came from there. We already talked about Cardano. Already talked about XRP as a potential if it does play out. VeChain is a little bit slower, but it's potentially going to be playing out. We already talked about Ethereum on this chart. Looking for potential opportunities after breaks like 397. So like I talked about all the charts that I really want to, really. So let's leave this and then let's go here. SXP has been super volatile because we zoom out. SXP is probably one of the least. Yeah, it's like right here. So it was the lowest for a while. Now it's kind of sitting lower, so I don't really think that that's a great opportunity. XRP we talked about. That's why I'm more bullish on XRP because relatively it is stronger. Like all throughout this section of the timeline, we can see that XRP is the lead by far. And that's why we want to be looking for XRP longs, Ethereum longs as well. We want to be looking for Ethereum longs. And those are mainly the two things that we're looking for. Ethereum and XRP. SXP is up there, but it's just been a little bit too volatile, where it was the worst and it was the best and it was the worst. So I'd rather stick to something that's a little bit more steady in terms of relative strength, and that's not SXP. That would be something like Ethereum. XRP is up there, I would say, at this point. So I've definitely shifted my gears a little bit on XRP, which is totally understandable, and I think that people should do that because you got to be able to be flexible and adaptable in the markets. All right, so I think that's going to be the end of the video. Don't really see any questions or comments coming in, so I'm going to close it off there. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, drop a comment in the comment section below, and hopefully you have a good rest of the week. It was a good weekend for me. Hopefully you had a good weekend as well, and hopefully you have a good week trading too. So if you got any questions, drop them down, and until next time, have a good one, everyone.